Hello, good people of YouTube. Sealord here, and today, actually before we get into today's video, I just want to plug yesterday's video. Over the weekend I downloaded American Truck Simulator, and me and some of the boys had some absolutely goofy times in it. It goes pretty much hand in hand with the theme of today's video. It's a goofy video with a little bit of drunkenness involved. So, American Truck Simulator, it's a game where you can, obviously drive trucks around the United States, build your trucking empire and all that jazz, and of course makes for some absolutely goofy times with friends. So if you're into that type of stuff, go check out yesterday's video. But to today's video, we are going over my top 5 guilty pleasure ships. This is a mix of premium and techline ships, and by guilty pleasure I mean that these are ships that aren't the best of the best in case or situation. They're just ships that I find to be fun. They may not be super popular or super effective, but have a reputation for being some fun ships. So with that out of the way, if you do find yourself enjoying this video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment if you do. And let's go ahead and get on into number 5, which is the one, the only, the Tier 5 premium Soviet destroyer, the War Canoe, the Ochotnik. So yes, this one is this is just a ridiculous ship. As I'm sure many of us older players know, it's an absolutely, look at this thing. The deck is absolutely just riddled with guns. You have, for some reason, a ton of single-mounted guns on the center line of the ship. Looks like 100% something that you would build in Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts for sure. And she has 12 torpedoes on top of that as well. She has 4 triple launchers. Just a ridiculous amount of guns and torpedoes on the ship. Is she an amazing destroyer? She can make it happen, and in the right situations. Of course, 12 torpedoes at Tier 5. That's quite a lot. Now, they only have a 4.5 kilometer range, which I think is a little bit under half of your minimum detection range. But yeah, you got a smoke screen. You can make some stuff happen. But again, with the sheer number of guns and torpedoes on this ship, and the fact that she is at Tier 5 does help her out quite a bit, because at that tier, the engagement ranges are a lot closer. You probably have a bot or two in your games at that tier as well, because most people play at Tier 7 up. But it's a goofy ship, and when you do well in it, everyone in chat is usually on board with you and is rooting for you, even if you are on the other side. So yeah, just a goofy ship. It's a ship that, man, it is. If you look at it too, it's actually kind of got some things going for it tactically, besides, of course, just the large number of guns and torpedoes. It doesn't have barely any superstructure at all, so trying to HU spam it isn't really going to work compared to some other DDs, although it is incredibly long, so I guess that kind of takes away from the fact that it doesn't have any superstructure, but it's got some stuff going for it. It still does have Soviet shells and all, so it's a pretty fun ship. It's a Tier 5, which, those cost like, what, $20, if that, and I think they gave this ship away, God, I think in almost every other event it's possible to get the ship in whatever container that they're giving away. But yeah, just a goofy ship at Tier 5 with the Ochotnik. Moving on down to number 4, we have an even goofier ship, believe it or not, which is the Tier 2 Japanese battleship, the Mikasa. The Mikasa it's a ship, alright. It's the only Tier 2 battleship, which used to mean back in the day you would sit in queue for like 10 minutes with this thing. With even the matchmaker dumping just whatever it has into your queue at around the 5-minute mark, it would still struggle sometimes to just somehow put a match together with the one Tier 2 battleship in it. So there's that. She does have a ton of secondaries, which is very nice, because her 4 main guns, good luck hitting anything with those guns. They're got to be some of the most, if not the most, inaccurate battleship guns in the game. Even if you're literally 4 kilometers away from somebody, half of your shells are probably, if not almost all your shells, are going to go into the water with the Mikasa's guns. The fun factor does, of course, come from a large amount of secondary guns, and if you have a high point commander, like I do, have a 21 point commander on the Mikasa with a full secondary build, the secondaries actually do put in quite a bit of work, again, especially at Tier 2. Now, another good thing, like I was mentioning with the Ochotnik, is that at these lower tier matches, it's mostly bots because again everyone plays at higher tier. So at tier 2, like 80% of the team is just bots, and bots just smash W right now. So with a full secondary build Mikasa, with your exceptionally long range, secondary range of 3.8 kilometers, you can absolutely be tearing into some bots with the secondary guns on the Mikasa, and again lower tier players as well. So it can kind of be a Seal Clubber if you want to go down at tier 2 and just beat the crap out of some bots while still having a random battles economy. Now it is a tier 2 economy, so don't get me wrong, you're not going to be, you know, bringing in mountains of credits or anything like that, but it's still fun to go down there, derp around with a secondary build in the Mikasa, and just, you know, kind of forget about all the higher tier stresses and such, and just have fun driving your Mikasa around for 10 or so minutes per match. Again, another goofy boat. Alright, going our way down now to number 3, we have the Tier 8 tech line British battleship, the Monarch. The Monarch is a ship that is often called the worst Tier 8 battleship. And in my opinion, if the Monarch is the worst Tier 8 battleship, then every other Tier 8 battleship must be like a frickin' Rolls Royce compared to this thing, because it's just decent in my mind, and pretty enjoyable to play. The only thing that I would say that's holding it back is that it still has like tier 7 HP at tier 10 with the British battleship armor scheme, which ironically this is a King George V class battleship hull, and that historically was one of the, if not the heaviest armored ship in the Second World War. But of course in World Warships, because of the British style when it comes to battleships, it's quite squishy. So you take that squishy hull, it's up at tier 8 with tier 7 HP, and yeah, that does suck, and it doesn't have a super heal, it doesn't even have a slightly improved heal or anything like that, and yeah, you do eat damage pretty quickly in it because of that. But the guns are pretty nice. You get 9 15-inch guns with an incredibly fast reload time for having 9 15-inch guns at tier 8. Now 15-inch guns aren't exactly large by tier 8 standards, but that's still like competitive caliber when it comes to tier 8 battleship guns. You know, you have like the North Carolina with 16-inch guns, Bismarck with 15-inch guns. So it's about normal for its tier, but you get a really nice reload time in the low 20s that will easily get even lower when you start eating all the damage that you're going to eat with this ship if you have adrenaline rush going for you. So you have some pretty potent firepower there, and you still have British BB-HE. Now, true, it's not as good as it should be, but it's still improved HE compared to other battleships. So couple that with a fast reload time, and you're going to be like melting just about anything that crosses your path down pretty fast with the Monarch. Now, obviously this is most advantageous when you're on a kiting flank and running away from the enemy team. And yeah, you can't really push in it because, yeah, the armor isn't that great. I mean, she still has 32mm plating, so it's not like she's getting overmatched by things that she shouldn't be getting overmatched at this tier. But think about today's meta. How much of it is just passive, sit in the back, snipe for 20 minutes? A lot of it. And the ship's pretty darn good at it. So you just turn your brain off, smack the one key, and burn the other team's BBs and cruisers down. And if if a destroyer does get within your range, you know, you got 15-inch battleship, British battleship HE to throw in their face. So that's not going to be a great time for them. So it's a ship that, for some reason, and I'm not trying to say, oh, you know, she's this amazing battleship, she should be super popular. I just don't get a lot of the seemingly unnecessary and undeserved hate that she gets. I do believe she should probably get at least something like a Warspite heal, you know, an improved heal, because she does still have tier 7 battleship HP with a weak hull. I do believe that, but I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of hate for this ship, and I just enjoy playing her, you know, especially in today's meta. After, you know, you try to brawl for the umpteenth time for the day and it doesn't work out, you just take this ship out and you do decently well. So, I don't know. I like it. And going on down to number 2, we have the tier 8 German tech line battle cruiser, the Zieten, another ship that when released, I thought this was going to be, you know, kind of a favorite, because it's a really goofy looking ship, It's got tons of secondaries, has the long-range torpedoes that the German battle cruisers get. But for some reason, apparently, this is like the most hated of the German battle cruisers, which I found to be weird, because I even included it in my Hidden Jewels video that I did around the time that the German battle cruiser line came out. I said, yeah, this is probably the jewel of the line, except for like the Schlieffen, because yeah, it looks ridiculous. I've always had very nice games in it, and again, I'm just an ape that slaps W most of the time, right? And that's what the German battle cruisers are good at, and that's what the Zieten's good at. But apparently, there's a either sizable or very vocal portion of the community that thinks that the Zieten is the worst of the German battle cruiser line. Now, the German battle cruiser line is an excellent line up and down the line, so maybe that's it. But I've seen quite a few posts around that, people just absolutely hate the Zieten for some reason, which I don't understand. It's a ridiculous ship like the rest of the German battle cruiser line at tier 8. You get IFHE on there, you get a high point commander on this ship. This ship absolutely tears it up, and you can run down many a player with the Zieten from my experiences. Now, yeah, she does only have 6 16-inch guns, but again, when you have, like with the rest of the German battle cruisers, a Spanish galleon's worth of secondary guns on each side of your ship, that still works quite well. So, yeah, I mean, it's like the German battle cruisers. It's fast, doesn't have the best armor, but tons of secondaries, small number of mediocre caliber main battery guns, and it has the ridiculous giant Graf-Spee Star Destroyer looking superstructure on it. So, yeah, I don't know. I enjoy it, and it seems to be a pretty fun ship to play, at least in every match that I've played her in. I don't really understand what the hate for her here is. And she still gets like Hydra and stuff too. It's not like she's missing any of the consumables or the traits that the German battle cruisers or the German ships get. So yeah, I like her a lot. This now brings us down to our number 1 slot, which is the one, the only, the tier 10 Soviet destroyer, the Khaba. Now, the Khabarovsk was the Tier 10 tech line gunboat destroyer for the Soviet line. And the Khabarovsk, it was too good. It was very much a menace back in the day. If you were around, around 2016, 2017, 2018, man, there was few more annoying things in this game than a Khabarovsk with a captain that knew what he was doing. Well, even back then, you didn't even have to have a captain that knew what he was doing because the thing was just crazy. It could run circles around you. I think the main batteries could get up to like 16 kilometers. It was super fast. The shell ballistics were super nice, and they still are super nice to where the thing can stay at range and just HE spam you or just absolutely chunk the crap out of you with its Soviet AP. And you couldn't touch the thing because it was so friggin' fast. Range is the Khabarovsk's friend. You got the speed boost, you got an incredibly fast ship that could stop on a dime, take off like nobody's business, and it's very hard to get shells to connect with Khabarovsk, especially with a decent commander at the helm of said Khabarovsk. But of course, it got bonked with a nerf bad, and then now I think the maximum range is 12-ish kilometers, maybe 13, which is still definitely usable if you have a Khabarovsk captain that knows what he's doing, but it's definitely been eclipsed by the likes of the Kleber and the Marceau. In fact, in the background match, there was a Marceau, and I simply just couldn't compete with him because he could outrange me and out DPM me. And of course, you got the French damage saturation. But the Khabarovsk, I mean, she still got it. I still like to play her. She's one of the first DDs that I grounded out, and I think she was like the second destroyer line that I grinded out. Yeah, she was. And you know what? I really like the gunboat style, and this is why I play mostly gunboats, because I like this type of style. And yes, the Kleber's better at it, and like I said, the Marceau's better at it too. But you know what? Taking an old ship like this out and having a good game in it, it just feels good, because you're using a ship that's been beaten so much into submission, and they've had to literally release a line that's the same thing but better, but they slap a different flag on it, and then players don't complain about it as much. But yeah, it's got a heal, which is very, very useful at times. She has actual armor, unlike a lot of other DDs, so you can bounce battleship caliber AP, which is funny to have a Yami or something shoot at you, then you hear the little doing sound and you're in a DD. It's goofy. I like playing it. It's definitely not the best running gunboat anymore, but has a special place in my heart. It is definitely a guilty pleasure ship that I do take out from time to time. Alright guys, it's my top 5 guilty pleasure ships. Let me know what you guys' top 5 guilty pleasure ships are in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday and a wonderful rest of your week. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And hope to catch you guys in the next one.